President Trump says he is raising his global tariffs from 10 to 15%. This after the Supreme Court ruled he doesn't have the power to impose sweeping tariffs under a federal emergency powers law. And now we are tracking what that means for you. You can see the Dow, it is down as of right now. Let's bring in Axios senior markets reporter Madison Mills. Madison, thank you for joining us on CBS News 24/7. So what does this recent ruling mean for consumer prices? I'm sure a lot of people want to know.
Yeah, there's this idea that overnight, because some of President Trump's sweeping global tariffs were struck down, that means, okay, well, if tariffs aren't here, then maybe we're not going to see as high of prices. I got to break the news. That's not necessarily the case. First of all, companies don't raise and lower prices overnight. Like a lot of these goods that we're talking about here have already come over on ships and have already been tariffed. So that's the first thing. The second thing is the president has already signaled that and is already working on instituting these tariffs through other measures. There are other kinds of tools at the president's disposal to be able to put forth these tariffs without using the Emergency Powers Act. And we've already seen him move on that. And third, once companies get used to charging you a certain price, it's very difficult for them to then lower prices and hurt their own margins. So it's unclear whether or not this is actually going to move the needle on consumer prices.
You know, I think I've been saying that for a while now because I've noticed from my experience, once prices go up, very, very difficult to actually see them come back down. All right, Madison, so a recent video you published details how corporations really banded together to push back against the White House and these tariffs. Do you see these corporations paying a political price going forward?
Well, this is what I think is one of the most interesting parts of this story is that corporations have been very hesitant to push back on the Trump administration for fear of any kind of backlash, and policies that could hurt their businesses, or even just a mention from the president can sometimes pressure a company's stock price. But tariffs were harsh enough for corporates to get them to speak up. And we especially saw this with some of the big retailers, the likes of Costco, really joining in on small businesses and pitching the idea to the administration that these tariffs were bad for their bottom lines. And then these corporations won. Meantime, Costco has had this record-breaking stock performance. Its valuation is higher than some of the big tech companies that are winning on AI right now. So I think that's just an important story to point out, that corporations can push back against the administration and not be punished by the stock market as a result, so long as they are pushing back on policies that are going to be impactful to their own profit margins, their own bottom lines.
And Madison, we showed the numbers earlier. The Dow, it is down today hundreds of points. Do you think that has anything to do with the tariffs or how the White House is responding to the ruling from the Supreme Court?
I think the market doesn't like uncertainty, and this is more uncertainty. As we've been talking about, and you've smartly pointed out in your questions, this just leads to more unknown for corporates, not necessarily a better or worse outcome. They're just waiting to know what tariff policy is going to look like, and investors don't like uncertainty. Even if the outcome is bad, they want to know that because they can hedge or bet for or against that outcome. I will put into context that this sell-off is sort of what we've been seeing year to date anyway, so I'm not positive that this is 100% related to tariffs. We've also got AI jitters in the market playing out, but certainly seeing that this uncertainty across the board on everything from AI to tariffs is making investors' heads spin a little bit.
Okay, Madison Mills, appreciate your time today. Thank you.
Thank you.